is a great guy, but he just started a day ago. But he really has his heart into it. He's working hard. He's learning the subject matter. And he's going to be issuing a statement, too. So Rudy knows it's a witch hunt. He started yesterday. He'll get his facts straight.
President Trump on his way to Dallas today talking about Rudy Giuliani, offering him praise and a little bit of a correction as well. Let's bring in our panel now. Charles Hurd, opinion editor for The Washington Times. Susan Page, the Washington bureau chief at USA Today. And Jason Riley, Wall Street Journal columnist and senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute. So we got that clarifying statement from Rudy Giuliani not long after the president spoke. In part, Giuliani said, there is no campaign violation. The payment was made to resolve a personal and false allegation in order to protect the president's family. It would have been done in any event, whether he was a candidate or not. Giuliani seeming to be walking back or clarifying the statement he made on Fox yesterday, where he said, imagine if all that had come out in the last debate with Hillary Clinton, what would have happened?
Ironically, Giuliani was brought in to help speed along the Mueller investigation, wrap this thing up quickly. He might have just extended it. I don't think it was a slip of the tongue. I think it was a strategy. They seem to be walking it back a little bit right now. But politically, what it has ensured is wall-to-wall coverage of the president and the porn star through the weekend and beyond, perhaps. And that's a problem politically. We're not talking about these great job figures. I mean, the lowest, some of the lowest unemployment numbers in the post-World War II era, John. And nobody's talking about that. And unemployment across the board, women, minorities, teenagers. And we're not talking about that. And I think if you're a Republican out there, particularly a Republican up for re-election, this is not what you want to be talking about.
We were talking about the Russia investigation earlier in the week because there seemed to be new momentum around it, Susan, but this just kicked it into an orbit somewhere past Jupiter.
And, I would disagree that Giuliani was brought in to bring the Mueller investigation to more of a conclusion. I think he was brought in to change the kind of campaign against it that the White House has been waging. I think Ty Cobb had a view that you dealt with the investigation, you tried to cooperate, you agreed to testify, and the Giuliani approach seems to be, let's fight it in the streets. Let's fight it not in the courtroom. Let's fight it out on cable TV and in public opinion. I think they are laying the groundwork for, if there is a very negative report by the special counsel, if there's even an indictment, that they're going to try to undermine the credibility of the FBI, of the courts, of the investigation.
And I spoke to Rudy about this at midnight on Wednesday after he made the comments. I said, well, why did you do this? Did you have some reasonable expectation that prosecutors who raided Michael Cohen's home have evidence that payments were made? And he said, well, no, because nobody knows what was seized from Michael Cohen's office. But Cohen knows. Exactly. You got to wonder if they got bank records. There's got to be some record of these payments, Charles.
Yeah, and obviously, politically speaking, it is sort of a firestorm right now. But we're not talking about politics here. I think that what we're talking about here is legally, and clearing that up from a legal standpoint was very important for the president and the president's team.
And you think this clears it up?
The fact that he paid for it as opposed to someone else paying for it and failing to file the proper FEC documentation, that is a good thing for the president. But I also think that it suggests that at least the best information the president has is that the best information, the best case they have against him is an FEC violation, is this case. And if that's the best that Mueller has against the president, that's not that bad.
But there was that little detail of, okay, so you were paying Michael Cohen a retainer. Did you know where the retainer was going? And the president, on the way to Dallas today, kind of gave us a little insight into it. Let's listen.
Well, you're going to find out because, we're going to give a full list and people know. And virtually everything said has been said incorrectly, and it's been said wrong, or it's been covered wrong by the press.
So do you have to make a leap of faith, Jason, to think that the president's giving all of this money to Michael Cohen and not getting any kind of itemized bill?
I think that the president is taking his supporters for granted to some extent here. He said he knew nothing about these payments. He was very clear about that. His daughter was out there defending him on that. Sarah Sanders was out there defending him on that. And now that has changed. And I'm worried that people need to be able to trust their president on the big stuff, North Korea, Iran, and so forth. And he's showing them he's questioning whether he should be trusted on things like this. That's a problem.
Does this hurt him in terms of trust?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Wall Street Journal's been pretty supportive of President Trump. The Wall Street Journal ran an editorial this morning that was critical on the question of whether he's leaving people to not be able to believe what he's telling them.
Let me just quickly, in the time that we have left, jump into another issue. It's in the same vein, though. Virginia Judge T.S. Ellis, in the Manafort case, today excoriated the prosecution for bringing him the case, basically saying we said that this was what we said this was what the investigation was about, but we are not bound by it, and we were lying. Come on, man. He basically is saying to Mueller, why are you bringing me this case? This goes so far outside of the bounds of your jurisdiction.
That was a pretty amazing development today, because already you have sort of the obviously the executive branch is not pleased with this investigation. You have powerful people in the legislative branch not pleased with this investigation, and now you have the judicial branch. The guy actually accused the prosecutors of going too far, and their response to this was that, well, we have these secret powers that are laid out in this document, but we can't let you have what. And he says, no, I want to see what the parameters are. It's a very tough situation that the prosecutor is in.
This document is.
But that's why this really goes back to Rod Rosenstein, right? Mueller is taking advantage of whatever rope Rosenstein has given him to expand this investigation, and the buck is supposed to stop with Rosenstein. And so I agree. The Mueller's power is not unfettered, but if you want to blame someone here, it should be Rosenstein for letting this get as broad as it's gotten.
Susan, the president took great comfort from what Judge Ellis was saying today. Does this blow a hole in Mueller's case if a federal judge is saying, I don't understand why you're doing this case from 2006. What does this have to do with the Russia investigation?
Well, let's see what happens next. It should give Americans some comfort, Americans of all stripes, that we have a separation of powers. We have independent power centers, including the judiciary, that's going to take a look at things. And so whatever happens next, I think it is a good thing when the institutions of American government are willing to stand up to each other, whatever the final outcome might be.
Well, that sure happened today.
Yeah.